Hello, I'm Sephera Giron, and I am here to discuss The Last Jedi yet again. I said I would come back and talk about it a little bit once I'd seen the movie again. And yeah, I have it on, I bought it, and I watched it again. And I've watched a couple of my favorite scenes a few times. And I still have the same opinion I had before, which is it's amazing looking and the music's fantastic, but it's not a Star Wars movie. And, so many people have said the exact same things that I have said all along and continue to say, and nothing's going to change because they're not remaking the movie or anything. Um, the problems in the movie have nothing to do with whether you're a man or a woman as a movie watcher. This is why I think this is my third Last Jedi rant on YouTube, only because I keep reading about people saying that it's, men that hate The Last Jedi and that men have issues with women in charge and all this kind of stuff. And no, it's not true at all. So I felt as a woman, I should say my piece. And as a woman who has loved Star Wars for 40 years, I should say my piece. I saw, you haven't seen, you heard me talk before, I saw Star Wars when it was Star Wars in 1977. I was there the very first day it opened. I was 15, me and my brother went. We thought it looked like a really cool movie. We'd seen the commercials on TV and at the theater when we would see other movies, and so we went thinking, this looks like a cool movie, and it was totally cool movie. And we had our strong princess who pretty much saved herself. I mean, yes, Luke and Han saved her, but she certainly, they all helped each other. They were an amazing triumvirate. The minute Luke and Han come to her little jail cell, she grabs the gun and starts shooting herself, like shooting at the enemy herself. She didn't wait for them or hide behind them while they had guns. She shot. She shot first. Hans shot first because he was a scoundrel, and we had to see his character arc through that movie and even through the series until modern times, which we'll get into later. We meet Han Solo. He's just there to be like, greedy or whatever, and, just to fly the ship and get his money and go home. And then he becomes enmeshed in this amazing situation and becomes friends with Luke and Leia, who, we discover in the next movie or even the third movie, can't remember which one now, that they're twins. I know in the second movie we discovered Darth Vader is Luke's father, but I can't remember because when they've been showing them on TV, I've been watching them in a row, or I'll watch just scenes of them and stuff. Anyways, so Han Solo had an amazing arc as well. Luke had the hero's journey where he went to be, like Dorothy, just the person in black and white land wishing for an amazing adventure. Luke, he wanted to go to the flying school, but they couldn't afford it or whatever. He had to stay on the farm another year, and all his buddies got to go to the flight academy, and yet he gets to take down the Death Star. He is nothing in this desert planet, and then he gets sucked into an adventure, saves a princess, blows up the Death Star, and he has to learn how to use the Force. He never had any Force abilities before he met Obi-Wan, until Obi-Wan trained him on the Millennium Falcon. And even when he was in the Death Star trench, it was only because he already knew how to fly, because he was shooting womp rats. So he knew how to shoot, because it's like shooting gophers on the farm or rats in the dump or whatever. Like, he knew how to shoot a gun, he knew how to fly, and he had already done a lot of target practice before he was put into this war to deal with the Death Star in that tiny space, which was about the size of a womp rat. And then as he's going down that final journey, Ben's in his head going, use the Force, Luke. And so he turns off his equipment and uses the Force. And that scene always makes me cry. And you have Han Solo in the Falcon above him shooting away the TIE fighters that almost got him, right? So you had all this amazing stuff. And it was such a short movie, and they packed a lot of information in there, but it was a very simple story. But you knew who the good guys were, you knew who the bad guys were, and it was amazing and fun and cool. Um, and that's how it was in the 70s. It was, and even, because I read a lot about it when I was young, and, George Lucas, said he was making a Western in space, or fairy tale in space, or whatever. Any of those analogies really work with the original Star Wars movie, and then the original trilogy. It all was the hero's journey, the shadow self. It was all the Jungian stuff happening. You don't sit down and think of it, but in a good story, it bubbles to the surface, and you can see the structure and the information. And sometimes simple is better. And that first Star Wars, and actually the first three, even the first six, very simple stories. There's some stuff going down, and dudes have to go deal with it. And you have your good guys and your bad guys pursuing the same thing, but with different plans for what that thing will do for them. The bad guys are building the Death Star, the good guys are taking it down. Or, maybe you like the Empire, maybe the Empire are the good guys and the rebels are the bad guys. It depends what team you're on, right? It's like when Adam Driver was talking about Kylo Ren. He's like, Kylo Ren thinks he's the good guy, so why would I think he's bad or whatever, right? So, and that's how all actors should feel about their parts. Their character motivation is their character thinks they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they don't realize they're a good guy or a bad guy. They're just living their lives, just like we do in real life, right? So then we come into the new trilogy, and when I saw The Force Awakens, I really liked it, but like the first time I saw it, I just kind of came out of it a little like, why did they have to make it so much like A New Hope? Like, why couldn't they go somewhere new? They've had 40 years and tons of expanded universe stuff to draw upon. Why did they pick that story? Why did they put these new people in? When I went to see The Force Awakens, and I didn't watch any trailers, just like I didn't for The Last Jedi. When I went to see The Force Awakens, I thought for sure by the end of that movie that we would have Han, Leia, and Luke all together dealing with something. And my big hope had been they would be, get the call at the beginning, oh no, the Empire is rising. Or I didn't even think they'd use the Empire again. I thought, we're tired of all that stuff. So I thought it'd be a new enemy, a new thing, and they have to get the team together because, Luke's a powerful Jedi by now. I thought maybe Leia, because I knew they weren't going to do anything with what's happened anyway, so they were making a brand new story. So in my head, I thought a good story might be that Luke is, a master Jedi, probably runs a school, has his trainees, his Padawans, and I figured Leia is probably helping out with the school, or she's being a general dealing with whatever, and moving up in her kingdom, and maybe she got married, maybe she didn't. Maybe she and Han did get together. Maybe they got divorced. I don't know. Maybe they had kids. Maybe they didn't, because I'd heard, like in the books, that there were twins, or maybe there were 3 kids, or this and that. But I knew they weren't going to do any of that. Anyway, so I thought, the 3 of them would have to get together for some reason that had been called to them after all these decades, that only them and their ways of dealing with things could solve this problem. Or maybe they would be together at the beginning of the movie because there was a funeral for someone that they all knew, and it's like, oh yeah, or something. But then, we see the scroll, Luke's missing, so I figure, okay, halfway through the movie he'll come, and then, he'll hang out with Leia and see Han, they'll high five and all that, and we'll see the 3 together again, because we had not seen this, and they were all very much alive at that time, and I had really looked forward to that. But then The Force Awakens happened, so I went along for the ride, and I'm like, okay, I was really upset, as you all know, a million times, not seeing Luke till the very end, because he was the only reason I went to see The Force Awakens. It was the only reason, was to see what the hell had happened to Luke after all these years. I didn't care. I didn't care about Leia or Han and all that. Really, I didn't. Or Chewbacca. I mean, I care, but to me, Luke Skywalker was the person that brought me into this story, and he was the guy I had on my wall as a teenager, and he was who I really was interested in. And so another reason I'm doing yet another video saying pretty much the same thing, because I'm not getting any traction, is that I have read or heard, and I watch a lot of other people talking on these YouTube videos too, heard Kathleen Kennedy saying that it's only men who wanted to be Luke Skywalker, and she had to create more women characters for girls to look up to. And it's like, that's not true at all. I had a huge crush on Luke Skywalker, but also wanted to be Luke Skywalker. I wanted to be that person swept up on an impossible adventure and discover I had these powers and learn how to use them and ultimately do good and help people. And that's what the core of Luke's nature was. With Leia, I didn't identify with her quite as much, even though I probably am a lot like Carrie Fisher. But as a 15-year-old, I identified more with Luke. And probably because Leia was already a princess and she could shoot guns and stuff, and that's not my reality. I grew up in Canada. We don't have guns here. It's not part of our culture. So to me, it was more like, you know, Luke was the person I definitely connected to and wanted to be like and emulated. And back then, girls didn't really admit they were into Star Wars and stuff, and you know, I didn't have toys or anything, but certainly Luke was the reason. And so when I went to see The Force Awakens, I did not see my Luke. So I spent 2 years waiting to see what he was going to say when he, you know, got that lightsaber that Rey held out to him. And so I was very upset with what he did say. And I was pretty upset with how his whole character was handled in The Last Jedi. Because there was... And now I'm angry about The Force Awakens too, because of the way The Last Jedi went. And the fact that Carrie Fisher's dead. So there's no redos, there's no big reunions. And, you know, I've said it before too, it's no secret that when they made The Force Awakens, I thought it was amazing that Carrie Fisher had lived that long to be even in that one. And so then I got relaxed about the idea of her being with us long enough to make a trilogy. And I guess everyone else got relaxed too, forgetting that she was, you know, 60 and a drug addict. And yeah, her body gave out. She can only do so many drugs for so long, and that was that. So I really feel ripped off. I had wasted opportunities between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, because it's very clear that there's no communication, and you know, and it's all common knowledge now that Rian Johnson just did whatever he wanted. He didn't care what J.J. Abrams did in his movie, and even though J.J. Abrams was producer with Rian Johnson's thing, I know a bit about the movie business, and I know there's a lot of fingers in the pies, and people get on tangents of, oh, this is a great idea, and they lose the focus on what the idea should have been, what the fans really wanted. Okay, so they say Star Wars fans are never happy. That's not true. All we wanted was what we had. We didn't want anything, like, you know, certainly explore new ideas, create new enemies and all that. But we wanted to see Luke, Leia, and Han have an adventure before they die. We all knew they would all die by the ninth one. And in fact, I knew Han would die in The Force Awakens, because it's been no secret that Harrison Ford has been trying to get Han Solo to die for decades. And so I knew he was going to die in The Force Awakens. I just wasn't sure how. And I thought it was very interesting that it was his son who killed him. And to me, that was totally not what I was expecting. I thought he'd get shot or something, random stray bullet, whatever. So I really liked that. Um, but it also meant that since Luke was not found, there would never be that resolution again. So even if we do flashbacks or whatever in 9, they'll never be together again because Carrie Fisher's dead. So then when The Last Jedi came out, I thought, oh, maybe they'll do some flashbacks so we can figure out, what were Han and Leia up to during those years? Why did Ben go wrong? How old was he when they sent him off? Was he a little kid? Was he a teenager? When did Han leave Leia? Why did he go back to smuggling when he's married to a princess and a general? So why would he go back to his life of crime? I had a lot of questions from The Force Awakens on top of the obvious ones, like, who are Rey's parents, who's Snoke, all that stuff, right? So when The Last Jedi came, I was excited for 2 years. I was pee my pants excited. I had never been that excited for a movie in my life. Like, I had not, because I was so excited about what Luke was gonna do, and I had a huge crush on Kylo Ren. What's he gonna do? And I was not too happy with most of it. I did like a lot of what Rian Johnson did with Kylo. I liked a lot of it. But if he had pulled out all that crazy Canto Bite stuff and focused on developing Kylo and Luke and Leia a little more, we would have had more depth and more backstory. I didn't buy the backstory of Luke trying to kill Kylo for 1 minute. I did not believe that. I actually laughed in the movie theater when he had his lightsaber up to kill him, because Mark Hamill looked like he was overacting so hard, and with the 3D, his eyes were all crazy, and I laughed out loud. I'm like, this is ridiculous. But by then, I'd already lost a lot of the magic that I'd hoped for anyways. And I'm just like, what the hell? Like, Luke would never, ever try to kill a child. Like, he wouldn't. No matter how much he snapped. He might bitch and moan about it. He might, Ouija board with Ben Kenobi about it or whatever. And also, why was Kylo's name Ben? Like, Leia and Han didn't know Ben Kenobi. Luke barely knew Ben Kenobi. They pick up this old man in the desert and he dies an hour later with Darth Vader. So, and where was his ghost? I thought we would see more of Kylo talking to Vader, like he did in The Force Awakens, like, grandfather, tell me what to do. He did none of that. I don't believe for a minute that he smashed his helmet. I don't even know how he got his helmet, because last time we saw it was on the catwalk at Starkiller Base, and that all blew up. And even though I think Adam Driver is totally hot, and I love him as Kylo Ren, every time he's on screen, I'm like, oh, he's so beautiful. He really needed to have his helmet on more, because he's scary. That's why Darth Vader was scary, because you couldn't see him, right? And to make Kylo more scary, he needed to not be so pretty, And the Reylo stuff just makes me sick. That's stupid. I hope they don't go anywhere with that, because it's just dumb. And you talk about taking easy ways out. How is that a good thing, a good way to go? It's not. And one thing I was thinking about too, and actually it struck me in the movie theater when I watched it for the first time, in The Last Jedi, was how when Kylo takes out Snoke, why did the guards attack him? I didn't understand why the guards attacked Kylo, unless they were going for Rey. And I've watched that scene many times, like on YouTube and stuff. It's not clear to me why the guards attacked the new Supreme Leader. So if you think about The Wizard of Oz, when Dorothy pours the bucket of water on the Wicked Witch of the West and she melts, and even though every single guard in the palace and all the flying monkeys were trying to kill that girl, trying to get that girl, the minute that Wicked Witch was dead, the supreme evil leader, they bowed down to Dorothy. They bowed down to Dorothy, and they praised her as their new leader. And they even gave her the broom of the Wicked Witch because she asked for it. They said, "What do you want, dear leader? Yeah, just give me the broom of the Wicked Witch and I'll be out of my way." And so I thought, like, why wouldn't the Praetorian Guards, I don't know why they're even called that, but why didn't those guards bow down to Kylo? Why did they fight him? What were they fighting him for? Because their leader was dead. They have no leader. So they're not fighting to protect the leader and their guards. So why did they fight him? Now I know there may have, you could say, oh, they were going after Rey but they don't know. Because Kylo killed Snoke before Snoke could kill Rey. So it's obvious Kylo was protecting Rey, and if Kylo wants to protect Rey, the guards should do his bidding and protect Rey too. So to me, that makes no sense. It made no sense. Now I have to say, when I watched the outtakes or whatever on the DVD version, Blu-ray or whatever, I got the trifecta pack there with all the things, and the deleted original opening I liked a lot better, because I like Finn, and it was more like kind of from Finn's POV, like he wakes up from this coma and it's like, what the hell? Yeah, Kylo Ren sliced up his back, and it's like, oh, he made it, he's alive, yay. And we all hoped he would be, but we didn't know. I mean, I guess you see trailers, but I tried not to see the trailers. And then you kind of follow his POV for a little bit, so it gives you more of a grounding for the opening, right? And this whole thing with Finn running through the hospital with the body bag leaking, that was just stupid. It was so stupid. I hated it so much. Why couldn't Finn just wake up and, he was a friggin' stormtrooper. Like, he had some class and authority, and his arc in The Force Awakens was really good when you really sit and think about it. He had a good arc. He was a stormtrooper, and he saw this fight on Jakku, and he was like, wow, my buddies are dying, I got blood on my helmet, like, what the hell? And he's like, I'm done. And he went, and first he tried to find a pilot, and that's how he met Poe. And then he got onto that other planet where Maz and all that were there, and he goes into that bar and tries to get another pilot because he's trying to get away from that planet. And then by the end of it, he has come and helped fight. He helped Rey fight Kylo Ren in the snow. Maz gave him the lightsaber. And I also thought, too, because of the way the music was, because in The Force Awakens, the music told a lot of the story. It was like an opera. It was very interwoven. And that's one of the things, the more I watch The Force Awakens, even though I usually only watch my favorite scenes, the music is so engaging, and you can tell, just like in the original Star Wars, the original Star Wars when it was called Star Wars, but now it's called A New Hope. I listened to that album constantly when I was a kid, and the music tells the story so specifically. Every time a character is on, you know who's on, like Leia's theme, the Force theme, Luke's theme, Darth Vader's theme, all that stuff. And The Force Awakens did that too. They were very specific with the music and with Rey's new themes and the Han and Leia theme and all these wonderful themes. Kylo Ren's theme, he has a theme. So when the Last Jedi opens, they play Kylo Ren's music. The Kylo Ren isn't in the scene. He's not even on for a long time. And that disturbed me. In The Force Awakens, when we first hear Kylo Ren's theme, dun, 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 the very first time, it's so cool. You see his little bat ship flying with the music, then it lands, then the ramp opens, and he comes out. And we don't know who he is, because we've never met this man. or robot. I thought he might be a robot. Then when he took his helmet off, I was so shocked it was a hot young man. Um, I really thought it'd be like some ugly, crazy robot or something, and it wasn't. But then The Last Jedi had none of these great little moments or riffs or surprises, and they didn't use the music properly. Whoever edited it, I know John Williams wrote the proper music, he always does, but the way they put the music in, it's not an opera, it doesn't tell the story in the same way. But anyways, I was saying about Finn too. So Finn had this great character arc in The Force Awakens, and then The Last Jedi, it's like none of that happened. His character went back to being a fraidy cat again, instead of being that person who actually had a saber fight with Kylo Ren in the snow and had never used the thing before, like an hour ago when he took out some stormtroopers with it, but he'd never touched one of these things in his life. And I thought for sure they were setting him up to be a Force user as well, because of some of the dialogue and stuff that happened. But then they threw all that away in The Last Jedi, and he just became like so boring. I felt so bad for John Boyega because he had such a cool part. And Finn is a very cool character, and it was just destroyed in The Last Jedi. He and Rey had it in The Force Awakens. There was a lot of I think the actors Daisy and John really must have good charisma in real life. I think they must have a lot of fun. Maybe they don't talk at all in between, but they really have, and a lot of people have mentioned this, not just me, they have a really fantastic on-screen chemistry. You can really feel them. They really just pulled together, and I was looking forward to more of that in The Last Jedi, and we didn't get that, of course. And in The Force Awakens, I didn't mind Rey being a Mary Sue, because I knew would get all the answers in The Last Jedi or the one afterwards. So we still don't have answers after The Last Jedi on why Rey is so amazing. To me it was very obvious at the end of Force Awakens that she was Luke's daughter. She's wearing the same clothes Luke Skywalker wore, back in the day. The way the music was playing, the way that the beats of the script were, all kinds of things really pointed to her being Luke's child somehow. And now she's just nobody. And, I've said it before too, that Rey knows who she is, because when she, that vision in The Force Awakens, she's a kid. Like, she's like 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 in that scene. So she knows who her parents are. She saw them. She knows them. She knows their names. So for Johnson to change that concept, saying her parents are nobodies or this and that, she already knew who her parents were. It's just we didn't know who her parents were. We, the audience, didn't know. And she just wanted them to come back. And then Maz told her, they're never coming back. Whoever you're waiting for isn't coming back, so get on with your life. And so she does. And if you look at The Force Awakens, there's a lot of hints there that Leia and Han, one of them may have been one of her parents. It could have been any one of the 3, the magical trio, original trio. But I figured, and I even had ideas that maybe she and Kylo were brother and sister, and so Leia hid her on Jakku so that Kylo couldn't find her with his mind, because Kylo knew who she was, and Snoke knew who she was. They all knew who she was in The Force Awakens. That girl, go get the girl, get the girl, and, that girl, and, yeah. And also Kylo Ren knew who Finn was, because when he stopped the bullet in The Force Awakens, and he looked at him, and FM, blah, 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 and yet they didn't do anything with that in The Last Jedi either. That was another thread that was lost, if you're knitting a sweater and you miss the thread. That's another point they dropped, that Kylo still, should be mad at Finn for, leaving, defecting. Don't get me started with Phasma. Again, they threw her away, literally. They threw her away twice. Uh, she should have had a story instead of going to Canto Bight. How did I was really looking forward to a trash compactor scene like in A New Hope because they threw her in the trash compactor. I thought, here we go again. If they're gonna duplicate everything they've already done before, let's go back to the trash compactor and see how she gets out with nobody on the other side, or there's no C-3PO to get her out of there. So I don't know how she got out. None of us know. We'll never know. And yeah, I didn't mind Luke being a crusty old man. That's not what I'm mad about. I'm mad about the breastfeeding scene, which I think the whole universe is mad about. Certainly got us all talking, didn't it? And I guess maybe that's what they wanted. I'm mad that he wasn't our Luke. And sure, you know, it's Rian Johnson's movie, but the more I think about it and the more upset I see fans are. I mean, I just looking at Amazon again today, it's people love it, people hate it, and a couple of people in between, like the movie, it's The Last Jedi itself. But those of us that have been on the Luke ride for 40 years is very disappointing because why would it have been so hard to give us one last battle? And I don't mean a battle with him being a hologram against his nephew, who we know he's not going to kill because he would have killed him long ago if he was going to kill him, right? So even that was kind of cool, but where were the jumps, the flips, you see it every single lightsaber battle in the first 6 movies. People are flipping and jumping and they're on wires, and it was acrobatic like a circus. It was fun and cool and interesting, and battling on the catwalks or in space, or where was all that? They're just on a sand plank and one of them isn't even real. And there was 0 reason to kill Luke. 0. He should have just been sitting there on his rock watching the sun. Maybe he could have hallucinated the Tatooine suns because he's woozy from his battle. Force projecting. He's a Master Jedi. If he can be a Force ghost and all this other stuff, I mean, now he can, but I don't blame Mark Hamill if he doesn't come back. It's disgusting what they did to him. 0 reason for Luke to die. I think it would have been a much stronger movie if the movie had just ended with him sitting on the rock, watching the sunset, and then we cut like it's over. No friggin' broomstick boy, none of that stuff. We don't need the broomstick boy. We don't need those children. Save the animals, but don't save the children. Really? Like, you're not gonna save little children, but you'll save these dog things or whatever? Like, please. It just was so stupid. It was just so horrible. All that whole plot line. And when did Finn learn to fly? Isn't it just the next day? It's like Force Awakens. The entire Force Awakens, Finn is looking for a pilot, but by the end of The Last Jedi, he knows how to fly. My son pointed out it's not really a plane, it's just a motorcycle type thing, but I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this up because I've been babbling for half an hour and I think I'm running out of memory on my phone. I have so much more to say, but I don't know where the 9th one's going to go. Maybe they'll answer some of the questions that are left up in the air because, The Last Jedi is only part 2. There's lots more to come. There's lots more to go. I wasn't that disturbed about the Knights of Ren not being in it because that's probably a whole half-hour chunk right there to deal with all of that. Hopefully Kylo brings them in as he's now the new Supreme Leader, and he can gather his gang of the Knights and do their thing. And yeah, and anyways, I'll probably I do have lots more to say, but I'm going to wrap it up for today. So thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you.